What's up? This is your boy Ing Vendetta. In the last video, this is way too close. What the fuck? What the fuck? Yeah, we check out the Major Arcana. Like I said, from interest from Persona 5 to Tarot, and I don't know much, so I'm trying to do as much as I can. Of course, we're gonna start with the first one, which is the Fool. The Fool. Why did I choose the Fool? I could have went from 22 to 21. Can you do some for me to 1? But I prefer doing the Fool first because, first of all, the Fool. From what I understand, I'm very serious with the Fool. It is such an interesting concept of the Arcana. So for example, the Tarot card. So the Tarot card, I was a bit afraid, spirituality, Tarot, because I'm not the biggest believer. But when I read or when I saw a video on the Fool, I should have took the fucking channel. Shit. I didn't think about it. When I saw the video this morning, I was like, okay, well, this is me. And also, the Fool is the main character of Personas, and there's a reason for that. So, what is kind of cool with the Fool is, it is really often described as somebody who's smart, right? And one of the analogy I saw when this morning was the history of the Fool, which was so cool because the Fool is more often than not like a jester, like a clown, you know. And even in games, I know we're going a bit over our head, we're going a bit ahead, but hey, we'll go back, don't worry. If you think about Final Fantasy, one of the best fucking villain is Kefka. Kefka was a jester, he was a clown, he was a fool. If you look at Dragon Quest VIII, which was one of the most popular Dragon Quest ever made, the bad guy was a jester. The jester is super important because the jester is often described as this guy who's very smart, and he's able to help the king. He's able to have this different perception. So there was a story, I forgot the name of the story. There's a story where the king, he thinks he's the smartest, and the only one that he thinks may be as smart as him is the Fool, because the Fool has a different perception, a different view. And what is really cool about the Fool is, more often than not, he's an outcast. He's very outcasty. And not to be super self-centered, not to be narcissistic, but I do believe that I always was called weird, was always said, oh, you're not like the others, bro, you know. And to a certain extent, if I had to relate to that, I would say like I'm a fool, because I'm smart. I believe I'm smart, actually. Maybe I'm fucking stupid and I don't know, and everything I'm saying right now doesn't equate to shit. But maybe, just maybe I have a point. And yeah, so the Fool is so cool because it is often depicted as a person, like I said, he was super smart, but also as a disruptor. And people they think the disruptor is such a bad person, like such a bad automatically pejorative, negative. But no, sometimes you need a different outlook. So, for example, if you want to say, okay, so we're talking about the king before, the kings and their consular, the people that helped them, right? The lords. There was a king, there was a lord, there was a peasant. The lords were possibly just a bunch of yes men. They were possibly a bunch of yes. Oh yes, my lord. Yes, yes, yes. And the Fool was like, not sure. And you know, it's kind of funny because the reason why I was so intrigued by the, so like I said, we're doing this video because I want to see the Major Arcana, right? And I was like, okay, I read a couple, and I only really quickly read, and I'm like, ugh, I'm not sure if that's something I want to do. But then I read the Fool, and I fell in love because the Fool, the person started with the Joker. There's a reason why the Joker is so popular in Batman, is because he's not only the nemesis. Joker has a certain charisma. The Joker are very the Fools are very charismatic. The Joker is also somebody that's equal to Batman, and he's willing to go the extra mile. You know, all of these people are. I'm not sure how to say it. All those people are afraid of crossing a line, but the Fool will. The Joker will, and I think this is why we like the Joker, is because he's completely opposite. And I think the reason why we love the Joker from The Dark Knight, so Heath Ledger, Chris Nolan, Joker, I think we liked him so much because, sure, at first sight, He's completely insane, completely crazy. But when you start listening to him, so I've been watching the movies a lot. My favorite movie ever, right? And one of the things he says is about he is a dog chasing a car. He doesn't know because it's in its nature to chase a car. He doesn't even know what he's gonna do and he's gonna catch up with the car. But as long as the chase is there, he doesn't care. So the fool, all in all, is a person. From what I understand, of course, you cannot take my interpretation for cash because it's not. The fool was this person who is historically wise, is a person who was able to form his own opinion, who form his own reality, if you want. We were talking about Persona before. Persona, I think that what is super cool is that I think it's super cool. So, I've been playing Persona since I was a kid, right? And this is where the Arcana comes in. The Arcana, you could see that, for example, when I think the most popular Persona, right? The most popular Persona was Persona 5 Royal. Persona 5, sorry. If you look at the Chariot, which is Ryuji, if you compare them to the Chariot in the third game and the fourth game, they're very, very similar. So you see, you have this concept. And the third game, the lover persona, was also your love interest, and the fifth game is Anne. She's romanceable, right? So they have this like stereotype, right? And I believe that all in all, oh God, at least we're going fucking deep, right? I believe that all in all, each and every single one of us is gonna be able to, or try to at least, identify themselves as one of the arcanas. So, for example, somebody that's very outgoing, somebody that's very not pushy, but very stubborn in a good way. Like he's very like he's very motivated. Motivated is a better word. He's very motivated. I think it's a Chariot. But if you look at somebody like the main character and the Persona series, they're always full, and I believe they're full because they're able to change. And honestly, it's such a complicated concept because you want to say that the fool are smart, but then it goes around because no matter how. It's tough to say. So, and at first when I was in the video, I was talking about how the fool is cool because he's able to tell the king no. But the fool, no matter how smart he is, if nobody is agreeing with him, if everybody thinks he's crazy, then the problem with craziness, the problem with insanity is like the person can be right. Somebody can be insane and right. For example, somebody's gonna call conspiration. A conspirationist theory, like gonna say, "Oh, yo, I don't know, go ahead. The fucking penguin can actually communicate way better than we think, right?" And you look at the guy and you say he's crazy, but what if he's right? It's easier to say somebody's crazy than say maybe he's right. And you do research. That's why the fool is probably some of the better arcana to be associated with. Again, it all depends. For example, if your values, this is another concept, like a deep concept, right? And this is again with the fool. If your values are loyalty, so we're gonna go with fucking, we're gonna go as far back as Harry Potter, right? I'm not supporting J.K. Rowling, but fuck it. I grew up with the books, so let's go there. So there was this Sorting Hat, right? And the Sorting Hat was like, oh, you belong to Gryffindor, you belong to Slytherin, you belong to Ravenclaw, you belong to Hufflepuff, right? And this is because your value is more important. So I do believe that the way we think is because we're trying to emulate what we see. So our parents, the way they act, our friends, the way they act. So you see somebody that's in a relationship for a long time, you're gonna see they talk similar. They have this similar mindset. They can understand each other. They can have conversation without talking. This is not. I'm gonna be so negative right here. If you see a couple that's talking and they don't need to talk and they understand each other, it's not because they belong together. It's just because they've been together for long enough to understand what's going on. We see this. We see this. We saw the twins. The twins are the same. They're always thinking similar. They're always so similar. They think so similar. But now, the thing is, for a twin, you'd be exposed to the very same stimulants. So your parents, your friends, your high school, your school, your neighborhood, and your closest friend would be your brother, right? And since you guys are always being stimulated in the exact same way, then a lot of the conception, if you cannot make your own opinion, and I don't think at 5 years old you can make your own opinion. You can have an opinion based on an opinion you made. You can say, oh, stealing is bad. You don't understand that at 5 years old. I don't think you understand that. Oh, stealing is bad because it disrupts the people that the small company. It disrupts the people that work hard for that, right? If you steal a lot, then some people are going to get in consequences. Either it's security, either it's a company that you stole so much from. Their budget is down, and they have cut their budget. And by cutting the budget, they have to let some employees go, and that's your fault because you've been stealing, right? At 5 years old, your mentality is. Again, it's, oh, stealing is bad because my dad said so. Stealing is bad because my mom said so. Stealing is bad because I saw people that said, oh, this person stole. It made me sad, you know. So this is where I'm going with the fool. This is where I'm going with the theory that's so. In another theory, the fool is as smart as a smart man, but the fool because the video this morning was talking about deformity. So we were talking about Quasimodo, like if you're watching Disney, if you're watching I'm gonna finish with the value first. I believe the value are as important. What you value most, what you value most would be your needs and wants and likes. So, for example, if you value loyalty, it's because personally you think, or you have this perception that you're loyal, because you cannot expect somebody to be loyal if you're disloyal, right? So, it's cool because the fool. Is called a fool because people perceive him as a fool. But if he was smart, people would perceive him as smart. The problem with this, the whole thing, is that at the very end of the day, the fool is. It's so hard because again, I'm not the most experienced thing. So the example I have are Joker from Heath Ledger, and we're seeing that the fool in this. So a lot of people that are a fan of Batman, for example, are saying that, oh, Batman Bruce Wayne is super smart, but the Joker is super smart too. And the difference between, oh my gosh. So the difference between Bruce Wayne is technically what he does. What Batman, okay, so this is a question of opinion right now. It's a question of debates, right? So what we're saying is Batman, he goes and he saves the world, he saves Gotham, right? And you're like, oh my god, he's doing something good. So whatever he says, he must be right. The Joker, for example, the Joker, let's say he eliminates somebody that's a threat to other people. For example, if we were talking about the Joker, and it's funny because when you talk about the Joker, we talk about the fool. I'm old. I'm very old. I'm 30 years old, dude. I'm old. So if you ask me the Joker, and I'm thinking about Jared Leto. I haven't seen the movie, but yeah, I'm thinking about Heath Ledger, which to me was the best fucking Joker there ever was. But if you go way back, we're talking about Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson Joker was a gangster. And we're talking about gangster because we're talking about the mafia. So, for example, the police officer that stopped the mafia, they're the good guys, right? But that's not true. Okay, so the police guy who arrests the mafia, they're good people. Yeah, that is true. But the mafia, what you don't understand is some part of the mafia, yeah, sure, they were corrupted. Sure, they were doing some horrible thing. But if you look at I was playing the game, Yakuza. If you look at the Yakuza, of course, they're mafia Yakuza. They're bad people, but there's this code of honor, right? For example, if you look at the Godfather, he didn't want to have any drugs because they're gonna fuck up people. If you look at the Yakuza, they had this sense of honor, right? So, because they're not doing anything that they're supposed to do, like, are politically correct, they're often faced as a bad guy. So what I'm trying to go with that is the fool. It's a pride for me to be associated with the fool because that's how I see myself. The idea I bring in, the way I say it, the whole video right now is a perfect example of what a fool is. It's when they kind of have different concept of you. You could agree with me, but for example, if everybody in class, they tell you a certain thing, right? And one person say another thing, then even if you think that the one person is right, you're gonna go with the class. Not because not because the class could be right, not because the person could be right. It's not even a question of being right and wrong. There's a certain belief, there's a general belief that if you're agreeing with the majority, then you're absolutely right. Because in this fashion, there's this righteousness. So, for example, I was watching an interview of somebody in North Korea. They were saying, "Oh, the teacher asked her, 1 + 1 is equal what?" And she said 2. And the teacher said, "Yeah, but you know, the supreme leader Kim Jong-un figured out that if you add a water drop to another water drop, it creates a bigger water drop, and that bigger water drop is actually 1. So by doing that, he understood that 1 + 1 = 1." And both of us watching this video, both me making this video, we are watching this video, a lot of us are going to say, yeah, he's completely wrong. It's 2, right? But being told your entire life that 1 + 1 = 1, you can understand that somebody telling you, oh, it's 2, you're going to think they're crazy, you're going to think they're fools. So it's very hard because, it's very, 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 very hard to identify a fool because, I started this video by saying I'm proud to find some relatable things about the fool, but there's an opportunity, there's just moments where, for example, we're doing YouTube right now. We're doing a video for YouTube, right? So if you want to see YouTube, you want to see the algorithm, you want to see your video succeed, you gotta follow trend, right? By following trend, you're not exactly being yourself. Sure, you can be yourself. For example, somebody that has a baking channel, right? Or somebody that has, like, my favorite YouTuber, the one I'm listening to right now. We're listening to Kitboga, as always. For example, there's this AI controversy right now. And Kitboga could do a video about AI because right now what is trending is AI. But then you're not being a fool, you're following a trend. And by following a trend, you're doing like the other people are doing. So you could be as smart as you can could be a fool. But if you follow the masses, then no matter how smart you are, you're not going to be just one of the mass, you know. So you got this you got this smart guy, right? You got this guy who's original, this person. I'm not picturing somebody in particular. I'm not going to say, oh, it's me, it's somebody else. I'm just talking about a fictive person. You're seeing this person, right? Who's really smart, who has ID that he could agree with. The first person that said, "Oh, the world is flat," was looking crazy. You can agree with a lot of things that a person says, but if they look as crazy, then they're not the fool. They're the fool, right? So as a fool, there's 2 options, right? So either you conform and think about the same way that everything thinks, and you're happy just living that. So, for example, my father always wanted me to be. He's coming along with me, wanting to do YouTube. He's coming along, but if I told him I'm gonna leave my job of 9 to 5, he would fucking slap the shit out of me, right? He still had this mentality, and you know, fuck. I was saying that how hard it is because there's 2 options for a fool: either conform and do a 9 to 5, or do whatever you can to be part of society, right? Or there's another way, and this is being prosecuted, or that's being pointed at and say, hey, this guy's fucking crazy, watch out. For example, there's a lot of people that are going to say things that are because you don't agree with them, because you never heard of it, and you never heard of you see other people reacting to it. You disagree, right? So you get this self. So what do you do? Do you conform, or do you stay yourself? And I think that's just one of the hardest thing to do, because at the end of the day, if I want to do YouTube, I have to be successful. I'm successful about me being a millionaire. I think my expectation are one day I'm gonna have enough content. I'm gonna be good enough to have a channel where my kids aren't going hungry. I don't care if my kids. And I know this is selfish to say. I know this is selfish, very, very selfish to say. I know this is ludicrous, and I know this is very, very selfish on my being. But you know, so I'm 30 years old, right? I don't have kids yet, but I'm at the age where I start thought about kids. How I would be a dad? How can I be a better dad? What do I need to do to be a dad, right? I was talking with my shrink. My shrink was saying, "Oh, this as a dad, that's what I have to do." And in the perfect world, I'm giving my kids a very good example. But I feel like if I was working, if I was conforming, because if I wanted to be not considered as a fool, I feel like I would confirm my kids could have a better future. But Do I want to give my kids authentic father? Do I want to be myself and teach my kid that, hey, it's okay to be yourself, or do I want to give them a comfortable life, right? So by saying that, I'm trying to make the point that I want to do YouTube as a goal. I want to be good enough to be able to live like that. And how much money I make is not important, because as long as I can survive, I'll be doing something I love. Something that matters to me. Because we're talking about, so for example, we're talking about freedom of speech, right? Me being considered like a, reading about the Arcana of the Fool and thinking that, oh, that's really relatable. I understand that my content would probably not be very, very mainstream, and that's fine. But if I can't feed my family, then I won't have a choice. This is a big fear, you know, because if I'm being myself and it doesn't work, then I wasn't enough, you know, and that's a fear that I have. So I want to have kids, but there's a part of me that says, I never had a discussion with my father, and you guys hear me a lot talking about my father, more than my mom, and there's a very, very simple reason for that. There's a very simple reason. You can say, oh, you prefer your father, which is not true. In actuality, there's a moment where I prefer my mom. There's moments I prefer my dad. My parents are very different people. There's moments where my father is the better parent. There's a moment when my mom is the better parents. For example, when YouTube, right? My father, he comes across, he gives me ID. He's coming along with the concept of me doing YouTube as a job. He's accepting it. And he's being very supportive. My mom, she's the opposite. The very first day, she was like, "Oh, I'm going to support you." And as I continue, she's like, "You should probably give up, right?" So it's very hard. And there's a part of me that says, "My dad, maybe him also," because I think that every single human, every single person in the world had ID. They were told, "Oh, this is crazy. This is crazy talk," and you have to conform. What if my father or my mom, they conformed to make sure that I never needed anything? You understand what I mean? You understand what I mean? Maybe my parents, they conformed for me to never go hungry, to be fat fuck. So knowing that my parents, I had a friend, Mira, and Mira, she was this very, very smart person. She's very smart. She's fucking amazing too. She's super cool. But she always had those, so her parents were immigrants. And they immigrated when she was old enough to understand that, yo, we immigrated for you. We prefer living in, I believe it was Kazakhstan. I'm not sure. It's been so long since we talked. She blocked me. Hi, if you're watching this. Mira, hi. Miss you. So yeah, they were telling her, oh, we immigrated for you to make sure that you have a better life. There's a certain pressure that came with that. Mira, there's a time where she told me, well, I don't feel comfortable being their daughter because they sacrificed so much for me, you know. I had also a friend who, Boris. I thought about a friend who committed with a fucking necktie. And yeah, so this person also, he was from IT, and his whole family was like, oh, you're gonna be a doctor, you're gonna be a doctor. But the guy didn't want to be a doctor, so with the pressure, he did what he did. And R.I.P. You're missed, Boris. Fucking love you, bro. You know, and he was a really good dude. And all of this to say, I know we're going far with this, but all of this to say that I had this pressure of being myself. My parents, okay, so not to brag, but I'm a fucking cheapskate. I was raised with a father that was very cheap when I was a kid, so I grew up with being cheap. It's normal, right? And you see the video we're making. For example, most of the video I'm gonna make are stuff I'm gonna be laying around. Most of the stuff, the video I'm gonna do are because there's something I can do. I'm not gonna do, oh, travel to this place for 7 video. Maybe when I do it, when it's becoming my job, maybe I'll be able to do that. But for now, this is not the case, you know. So by being cheap, my parents know that I'm okay money wise. I'm okay. Like even you guys knew that a couple months ago I fell into depression, right? So I had to get unemployment, and I had to get insurance from work. And insurance from work, the unemployment came in, no problem. The problem with that is usually the unemployment is going to be 70 to 80%. Since I have insurance, the unemployment was 30%. Usually I make about 1,300 per week. Yeah, no, per 2 weeks. Sorry, I make 2,600. I'm making 21 per year. 31,000. So the 30%, it wasn't enough. And my parents knew that. My parents were. I'm very open about how much I'm making. If you ask me how much I'm making, my parents, even though they knew the insurance was coming, they never worried about me for cash because they know I'm responsible in that fashion. So I had this. All of this to say, as a fool, I have this pressure of doing the right thing. Money wise, I'm good. Money wise, I'm good. I'll be good for a couple of years. Even if I wasn't going to work on Monday, I'd be good for at least 2 years. 2 years of only creating content, right? And I was talking about this because I was talking about Mira. I was talking about Boris, and my parents. There's a possibility. I don't know. It's not like I'm fucking at ease like with my parents, but there's a possibility that my parents they were having these crazy ideas and they had to conform because they had a son. So as their son, as a son of parents that sacrifice themselves, sacrifice their belief for me, what do I do? Do I conform? Do I do whatever I can to be normal, to make sure that my kids, my own kids, they have this, they're able to eat, right? And they'll be able to eat regardless. But you understand what I mean? Or do I have this pressure of doing like my parents did, sacrificing everything? But then, my issue is, as a father, as a provider, I want to be able to say, look, if I have to work for my kids, I rather work a job that I don't like for my kids to be happy than to not work and my kids be miserable and be like, that's their problem, right? I prefer doing that, but my parents, they sacrifice their ideal. If I sacrifice my ideal, that automatically means my kids are going to be sacrificing their ideal because they're going to be my age and going to be thinking, oh, my parents sacrificed this for me, right? And what if they think that they know that I sacrificed a lot for them, and they're like, well, I probably have to sacrifice themselves, my kids, or do I pursue the full approach, the full of being a disruptor, doing whatever I want to be able to express myself, no matter how weird I am, no matter how different I am, no matter how different my opinion, my ideal are. And I'm thinking that it's funny because I don't have kids yet, but as a father, I don't know if would I prefer this. So we're super far, but you see, I'm talking to my father, and I can understand with him. He told me once he doesn't care what I do. He just wants me to be able to afford food, to be able to survive, right? And I can already see that when I do my kids, I don't care what they do, but I have a problem being conforming myself, because if I conform themselves, then it's true. I don't care. Like my father. He doesn't care what I do, and him is to an extent that is a bit extreme. For example, I was getting bullied a lot of work, right? And I left work, and he was like, "Yo, you kind of need to work, right?" And I was like, I'm not happy there. So, well, it doesn't matter. You gotta have to work. And to a certain extent, I understand him. But as a father, knowing that my kids are unhappy at work, I'm not gonna be. I don't know how would I react. It's so complicated. So yeah. So that's a fool. I know this was completely out of order. I know this doesn't make a lot of sense, but hey, at least I tried. I love you guys. Peace.